Eya, eya, see below. Eya, eya, storm wind blow.
Chapter 10. The Last Vael Tablet. The workhouse took Oren back through the gate on a doorboard. Not a bier, not a shrine plank. A doorboard, pulled from the storage room, because Sonara had asked for something wide, flat, and honest. 4 people carried it. 2 wept hard enough to lose step. Maru walked behind them with her knife low, and her head still bandaged from the dock wound. Blood had darkened the cloth near her temple. She looked as if the knight had tried to knock her down, and had only irritated her. On my count, she said, the bearers corrected. Sonara walked beside Oren's head with the root staff in her right hand. She had wrapped it in torn green cloth before leaving the root house. Not enough. Green still leaked through the weave where her fingers pressed. The wood lay cool now, patient. Dangerous things could be patient when refused. Lapo walked on Oren's other side. He held the name tablet against his chest. Oren Vael. The ink had dried crooked where water had touched it. Lapo's palm had bled around the tablet's edge, and he had not noticed his mouth was split. His cheek had darkened where the floor had taken him, or where Tavaro's force had thrown him aside. His shoulders carried no bundle now. His leaving bag remained in the root house beside the broken map table. The workhouse courtyard waited with every lamp lit. Eri stood near the washing basin, hair half fallen from its tie, both hands pressed against her apron. Morel stood by the medicine shelf, with a clean knife in one hand, and no idea what to do with it. The old patient who had slept through thunder sat upright on his mat and stared at the doorboard as if death had entered wearing a familiar coat. Sonara crossed the threshold barefoot. The courtyard stone had warmed since she left. That felt insulting. Back room, she said. Clean mat, plain linen. No green cloth. Eri moved first. Good. Fear could wait if the hands had an order. Morel did not move. His eyes were on Oren. Sonara looked at him. Knife down. He set it down. Water? For washing him? For hands first, then cloth, then him. Morel nodded and went. Lapo stopped at the back room door. The bearers stopped with him. Sonara touched his wrist. Let them carry him in. Lapo's fingers tightened around the tablet. I can't. You can barely stand. I can't. Not with him. He looked at her then. There were no words in him, only the refusal to place Oren's weight anywhere he could not feel it. Sonara lowered her voice. Lapo. His mouth trembled. Give him to me. No. The word held everything the night had not yet taken. No to the room. No to the blood. No to Tavaro standing alive in another darkness. No to the father who had called him and now could call no one. Sonara put her hand over his. Give him to me, so I can lay him straight. Lapo stared at her. Then he broke, not loudly. Lapo had never known how to break loudly. His shoulders folded, his face collapsed. One animal sound left him, small and awful, and then he let Sonara take Oren's weight from the bearers. Oren was lighter than he should have been. She hated that. He had been thin for months. The rootstaff had eaten him, or he had fed himself to it. She had seen it. She had not stopped it. She had been busy with Lapo, Fever, Tavaro. The far-bound every body that arrived in her hands before her father's body became one more thing she meant to address later. Later had ended. They laid Oren on the clean mat. Morel brought water. Eri brought cloth. Sonara washed her hands first, because the dead deserved procedure, and the living needed to see it. Then she washed her father's face. Blood came away slowly. The mouth first, then the ear, then the side of the jaw. Oren's broken shoulder had settled badly beneath the robe. She did not correct it beyond what linen could hide without lying. Dead bodies should not be made pretty at the cost of truth. Maru stood in the doorway. Do you need hands? Yes, Sonara said. Not yours. You need the pier. Maru's mouth tightened. The pier can drown in order for 3 breaths. 3? 4. If I dislike someone. Sonara wrung out the cloth. The water pinked. Riva is coming, Maru said. Sonara knew, not because anyone had told her, because grief had a way of bringing Riva like smoke after fire. She knows? Senara asked. Half the lower road knows. The other half is pretending not to until the work lets them fall apart. Hold them. Maru looked past her at Oren. Her face changed for one breath. Not softness, not enough for that. Recognition, maybe. The look one old worker gave another when the body had finally spent the last of what pride had been borrowing. Then she took the look back. How long? Maru asked. Less than we need. That is most time. Go. Maru turned. Her voice rose before she reached the gate. Full jars forward. Empty jars back. On the pull. Not before it. The harbour answered faintly from below. Ragged, then stronger. Work found its feet. Riva entered asking for Lapo. That was how Senara knew her mother had already heard. Not because grief had missed her. Because Reva always counted the living first. Where is he? Her voice cut through the courtyard, rough from running. She came through the gate with smoke still in her clothes, a rope coil over one shoulder, and her shell-handled knife bare in her hand, though she did not seem to remember drawing it. No one answered quickly enough. Riva saw Lapo. She crossed the courtyard and took his chin between thumb and forefinger. Not gentle, exact teeth, mother teeth. Whole breath. Fine. Liar. She turned his face toward the lamp, saw the bruise, the split lip, the blood on his hand. Her thumb paused at his jaw and moved once, small enough that only Senara would have seen the tenderness in it. Did he touch you? Lapo's eyes filled. Not like that. Riva's face went still. That told Senara the answer had made things worse. Not better. Riva released his chin and looked into the back room. Oren lay on the mat under Senara's hands. For one breath, Riva did not move. Then she did. She came in, set the rope down, slid the knife into her belt, and knelt on Oren's other side. No speech. Good. Senara passed her a cloth. Riva took it and began washing Oren's left hand. The old scar near his thumb had filled with blood. Riva cleaned it with the corner of the cloth, careful as a woman repairing a net by lamplight. You always hated that scar, she said. Oren did not answer. Riva's mouth tightened. Fine. Be stubborn. Lapo made a sound that might have become a laugh if grief had been less fresh. Senara worked down the line of Oren's robe, checking what did not need checking. Broken shoulder, broken ribs, neck wrong, blood at the ear, no breath, no pulse, still dead. The body deserved accuracy. Eri stood near the door, with linen folded in her arms. Her eyes kept straying toward the rootstaff, where Senara had set it against the wall. Green light found the seams of the cloth and waited there. Do not look for comfort from it, Senara said. Eri's eyes snapped away. Sorry. Do not be sorry. Be accurate. The girl nodded too quickly. Lapo stood in the doorway, still holding the tablet against his chest. Riva looked up. Sit. He shook his head. Lapo, if I sit, I will not stand. Then lean. He leaned against the doorframe. That was as much obedience as his grief could afford. Senara covered Oren's chest with plain linen. Riva tied the cloth beneath his chin. The knot failed. It slipped loose under her fingers. A bad cross that would not have held a fish bundle against a polite breeze. Riva stared at it, as if some stranger had borrowed her hands. Senara reached toward her. Riva said, Do not. Senara stopped. Riva untied the cloth and tried again. Her fingers shook. Lapo took one step. Riva looked at him. He stopped. She tied the knot again. Slower. This time it held. She pulled once to test it. Good, Senara said. Riva did not look at her. It is ugly. It holds. Then it can be ugly. Oren's face looked less like himself once washed. Dead bodies often did. Life was untidy enough to be recognizable. Morel stood near the cedar chest. His gaze moved from Oren's body to the chest straps. Do we open it? Senara looked at the chest. The long cedar surface had been polished by generations of Vael hands. Its corners were dark from oil, smoke, and age. 3 leather straps held it closed. The old Vael hand mark had been burned into the lid, palm open around a wound it did not close. Tavaro's body lived in there, not flesh. Worse, attention. Tablets on the skyburn line seemed. Tablets on transformation after effects. Tablets on line fever, mark shock, venom interactions, bone strain, drowning recovery, divine tissue, mortal medicine incompatibilities, blood loss patterns, sleeping draft failures, splint breakages, hawk mark lung strain, whale mark joint heaviness, beetle mark silence, child mark heat. More written about Tavaro's wrist than the workhouse held on childbirth fever. More written about one immortal body's capacity to survive than on Siston's sickness after red rain. Below the cedar chest, under spare linen and dull knives, Senara's travel kit waited in its oilcloth wrap. Outer lower fever roots, North Island birth herbs, Siston sickness after red rain, reef bite remedies, venom moss trials, salt mouth cases. She looked at Oren beneath plain linen, then at Lapo, holding the name tablet. Not every Vael record was written. Some had been raised. Senara crossed the room. "Yes," she said. "Open it." Marel unfastened the straps. The sound of leather leaving brass made Lapo flinch. Riva looked at Senara. Now, the ships are waiting. So is the lie." Riva said nothing. Marel lifted the lid. The cedar smell rose at once. Dry wood, old ink, salt kept out and still remembered. Tablets lay inside in neat rows, bound by error, healer, wound type, and catastrophe. Some were clay, some thin bone, some stiffened bark. The oldest were stone, too heavy and crude to be practical, kept because reverence was another form of clutter. Senara reached for a fresh clay tablet. Her hand did not shake. That was useful. She took the stylus. Riva watched her. Lapo watched the floor. Marel watched the tablet. Eri watched Senara's hand, as if learning the shape of an ending. Senara wrote, "Root House." The stylus bit clay. Oren Vael, dead. By Tavaro's hand. Lapo made a small sound. Riva closed her eyes. Senara kept writing. Rootstaff pressure, present. Skybone line reaction present. Standing medicine present. No mark called, no line drawn. Mortal force used. Mortal body killed. She paused. The next line waited. No further vile treatment under the great work. The stylus hovered above clay. Tavaro at the gate, bleeding and smiling too brightly. Tavaro asleep on the mat only when her hand stayed near his pulse. Tavaro asking whether anyone had come by. Tavaro's fingers releasing her wrist because he had frightened himself. Tavaro's face when Oren said, "Beautiful cage." Tavaro's hand drawing back. Oren's open eyes. Senara pressed the stylus down. No further vile treatment under the great work. One line remained. The room did not breathe. Senara wrote it before mercy could make her hand stupid. The great work ends here. The tablet sat in her hands, wet with new marks. No one spoke. Then Marel said, "No further vile treatment." Senara looked at him. The boy's face was pale. He had lost his mother without standing medicine. He had watched Tavaro receive it. He had watched the chest open for a murderer, because every person in the room still knew where Tavaro's records lived. Under the great work, Senara said. Marel swallowed. "If he comes here dying?" Lapo's fingers tightened around Oren's name tablet. Riva looked toward the gate. Senara set the final tablet in the top row of the chest. "Then a dying body comes here." Marel stared at her. "You treat breath," she said. "You stop blood. You cool fever. You do not open this chest. You do not call him sacred. You do not teach another child that Tavaro's body is the first law of the Isles." Marel's lips trembled once. "A body," he said. "Yes. If Tavaro is dying, he is treated as a body. Yes, not as the great work. Not as the great work." Marel looked at the chest again. Some of the anger went out of him. Not forgiveness, not peace. A rule for now, that would do. Riva reached past Senara and lowered the cedar lid. The sound was soft, too soft for something that had held centuries. Riva took the first leather strap and pulled it across the chest. Her fingers found a hard storm knot this time, flat and mean. Then the second. Then the third. Lapo watched. That holds against weather and fools. Nothing holds against fools. It only slows them. The corner of Maru's humor in Riva's mouth. Senara saw it and stored it. Another family shape no one had explained. Another knot in the dark. Riva's hands remained on the closed chest. All this for him, she said. Senara did not answer. Riva looked toward the lower shelf beside the chest. There, under the dull knives where Senara had once hidden it from apprentice questions, lay the wrapped travel kit. It looked too small. Canvas roll, waxed ties, empty specimen pouches, sealed letters to outer island healers, unfinished tablets labeled in Senara's own hand. The seal on the outer packet bore a date from last dry season, a date that had come, gone, and been buried underneath. Riva picked up the kit. Her face did not soften. That would have been easier to refute. You were meant to leave before the red rains, she said. Senara looked at the bundle. I was needed. Riva's mouth hardened. That is how they keep you. The words landed too close to Tavaro, too close to Oren, too close to all of them. Senara reached for the kit. Riva did not give it at once. This was yours, Riva said. Not his. Her eyes moved to the cedar chest. Not the roots. Not Oren's. Senara's fingers closed around the canvas. The weight was wrong. Too light for the years it had cost. Too portable for the life it had failed to become. She had meant to leave as Senara. Now she would leave as Vael. The root staff pulsed against the wall. Riva looked at it. I am not carrying that. No, Senara said. I am. Do you trust yourself with it? No. Good. Lapo gave a broken laugh. It hurt the room. Riva turned toward him. Do not make your father clean now, she said. Lapo's face tightened. Mother, do not. She stepped closer. Tavaro killed him. Say that. Keep saying it. But do not make Oren only the body on that mat. He would not fit. Lapo looked at Oren. He was trying to save us. Yes. He used me. Yes. He loved me. Riva's mouth shook. Yes. Lapo pressed the name tablet to his chest until the edge cut deeper into his palm. I do not know what to do with all of that. Riva touched his hair, smoothing it back from his forehead, as she had when he was fevered, and pretending not to be. Eat first, she said. Senara almost smiled. Almost. A runner stopped at the workhouse gate. No one had heard him arrive. He stood just outside the courtyard light, breathing hard, hands braced on his knees. A dock boy. One of Maru's, by the red cord, tied badly around his wrist. Senara. She stepped into the courtyard. What? His eyes moved past her, into the back room, toward Oren. He swallowed the wrong words and found the useful ones. He's outside. No one asked who. Lapo went still. Riva's hand dropped from his hair. Senara did not move, the runner said. At the lower wall. He is bleeding. The root staff warmed against the back room wall. Marel looked at Senara. Eri looked at the basin. Lapo took one step toward the gate, then stopped, as if his own foot had betrayed him. Riva walked out first. Senara followed, because not following would be cowardice, and following was not courage, only motion. Tavaro stood beyond the gate, not in the courtyard, not on the threshold, outside, where the road dropped toward Smokehouse Lane and the harbour lamps flickered below. He had one hand against the outer wall. His right wrist hung at his side, cloth gone dark and wet. Blood had run from his fingers to the stones, a dotted line leading nowhere. His rib binding had loosened beneath his tunic. The standing medicine had left his face. Without it he looked carved down by the night, too large for the road, too wounded for any place that would take him. His body angled toward the workhouse before he corrected it, toward the mats, toward water, toward the vile hand. Then he saw Riva. He straightened badly. Is Lapo alive? He asked. Lapo made a sound behind Senara. Riva did not look back. Yes. Tavaro closed his eyes once. His left hand opened, then closed around nothing. Senara, he said. No title, no joke, only her name, placed between them like a bowl no one should touch. Riva stepped into the gate, opening. Are you dying? Tavaro looked at her. He could have lied. He did not. No. Then you do not come in. His face did not change at once. The blood kept dripping. Riva's hand tightened on the gate. If you are dying, she said, Morel will treat what is bleeding. Outside the oath, outside the chest, as a body. Tavaro's eyes moved past her to Sinara. Sinara stood with the survey kit in one hand, and her father's blood dried on her feet. She did not speak. That was the cruelty. It was also the boundary. Tavaro looked at the workhouse behind her, at the open walls, the basin, the mats, the doorway where Lapo stood with Oren's tablet pressed against his chest, the room that had known the shape of his broken bones better than most people knew their children. He understood, not all of it, enough to lower his eyes. "I killed your father," he said. No one answered. "I know," he added. The second sentence sounded smaller than the first. Riva's face went hard enough to survive. Go bleed where his children do not have to step around you. Tavaro flinched. Good. No. Sinara held the survey kit until the canvas bit her palm. Tavaro nodded once. Not a bow. Not agreement. A body accepting that the ground beneath it had changed. He turned. For 3 steps, he walked as if he still knew where to go. On the 4th, he stopped near the lower wall. His shoulders lifted with one breath, then another. His wounded side bent toward the workhouse again, an old habit trying to find the mat. He set his hand against the stone instead. There was no place for his body. Then he walked into the lower dark. Riva closed the gate. The latch dropped. Inside the workhouse, no one moved until Tavaro's steps disappeared. Maru's voice climbed the road from the harbor, hoarse and alive. On the pull, not before it, a line of workers answered her, ragged, then stronger, full jars forward, empty jars back. Riva turned from the gate. For the first time since entering, she looked tired enough to fall. She put one hand to her belt, frowned, and looked around the courtyard. My knife. Sinara looked at her hand. Riva looked down. The knife was still there, gripped, white-knuckled in her own fist. She stared at it. Then she laughed once, without humor. "Fine," she said to the knife. "You may stay." Lapo's mouth trembled. Riva slid the knife into her belt and crossed to him. She took the name tablet from his bleeding hand. He resisted for one breath. "Palm," she said. He gave it. She wrapped the cut with a strip torn from her own sleeve, too tight at first. She loosened it before Sinara had to correct her. "I can do that," Lapo said. "You can do it after the bleeding stops." He bowed his head. Sinara went back into the rear room. Oren lay straight under plain linen. His face had been washed, the knot held beneath his chin. He looked less like himself clean. Dead bodies often did. Life made a face untidy enough to know. She touched 2 fingers to his forehead. Not farewell, not again. Counting. Still dead. The body deserved accuracy. Morel stood near the cedar chest. Who holds the workhouse? Sinara looked at him. The question should have been too large for him. It was not. Grief had made him older in the space between 2 breaths. "You do." His face paled. "No." "Yes." "I am not senior." "You are breathing. You know the shelves. You heard the rule." His eyes moved to the closed cedar chest. "If Tavaro comes dying," Morel said, "he is a body." "Yes, if anyone asks for the great work is closed. If someone opens the chest..." Sinara looked at him for a long moment. "Save their life," she said. "Then break their fingers." Eri made a small choking sound. Morel did not smile. Good. The rule mattered more, if it did not amuse him. Sinara took the rootstaff from the wall. Its green slid beneath the cloth and touched her palm, cool as shade over a wound. She hated the relief of it, hated the part of her that wanted to lean. She set the staff's base on the floor. No command, she told it. It waited. Lapo came to Oren's side. Riva stood behind him. For a moment, the 3 of them stood around the body. Daughter, son, woman who had loved and left, and still knew the private angle of the dead man's mouth. Riva reached down and smoothed one escaped lock of white hair from Oren's temple. "You always did leave me with the hard part," she said. Lapo covered his mouth. Sinara closed her eyes. Maru's voice rose again from below. The answering voices had found rhythm. The fleet would leave unless someone made it impossible. Oren was dead. Tavro was outside the workhouse. The cedar chest was closed. The survey kit hung from Sinara's shoulder. Riva looked at Lapo. You are still going? He could not answer quickly. That was something. Yes, he said. Riva nodded. You? He asked. Riva looked at Sinara, then at the root staff, then at Oren. I am not following that wood. Lapo swallowed. Riva touched his bandaged palm. I am following my children. Sinara looked at her mother. You said staying alive was sense. It was, and now. Riva took the rope coil from the bench and slung it over her shoulder. Her shell-handled knife sat at her belt. Her eyes were red. Her voice did not soften. Now I am tired of being sensible alone. They covered Oren fully before they left. No green cloth, plain linen. Morel barred the back room door and stood in front of it as if his thin body could hold back history by disliking it enough. Eri wiped the broken fever cup from the floor near the medicine shelf, then stopped with one shard in her hand. Sinara took it from her. Save that. Eri blinked. The cup? The shard? Why? Sinara looked toward the closed cedar chest. Because not everything broken belongs in a grave. Eri wrapped it in cloth. Outside, the harbor bells rang. Not warning, not worship, work. Sinara stepped through the gate with the rootstaff in one hand and the survey kit against her hip. Lapo walked beside her with Oren's name tablet tucked beneath his bandage. Riva walked on the other side, rope over her shoulder, knife at her belt, eyes fixed on the lower road. Behind them, the workhouse remained lit. Behind them, the great work sat closed in cedar. Ahead, Maru's voice beat the harbor into motion. Full jars forward, empty jars back.
Heya, carry him clean. Plain cloth, lamplight, water bowl. No green cloth for the dead tonight. No song to make him whole. The workhouse opened every lamp when Oren crossed the gate. A doorboard bore the body home because Shrinewood came too late. Sinara walked beside his head, the root staff in her hand. Lapo held the name of him too tight to understand. Wash the hands, then wash the face. Lay the shoulder true. Bodies do not need a myth. They need what hands can do. This is the last Vael tablet. Cut the clay and close the chest. Father, fool, healer, root bearer, lay the old work down to rest. This is the last Vael tablet. Blood and ink and cedar bound. The great work ends here, but the living still need ground. Revel came asking for Lapo, counted teeth and breath, but knelt beside the man she knew and washed the hand of death. The knot beneath his chin slipped loose. Her fingers shook with pain. She tied it ugly, tied it hard, and made the cloth remain. If it holds, then let it hold. Beauty has no claim on rooms where fathers leave their sons and daughters write the blame. This is the last Vael tablet. Cut the clay and close the chest. Father, fool, healer, root bearer, lay the old work down to rest. This is the last Vael tablet. Blood and ink and cedar bound. The great work ends here, but the living still need ground. The first law is life. This is the last Vael tablet. Cut the clay and close the chest. Father, fool, healer, root bearer, lay the old work down to rest. This is the last Vael tablet. Blood and ink and cedar bound. The great work ends here, but the living still need ground. Outside the gate stood Navarro, bleeding toward the mat. The old road in his wounded bones still led him back to that. Graver held the threshold hard. If death comes, we treat the wound. If life remains, then bleed elsewhere. No children step around you. He asked if Lappo still lived. The answer broke his face. Sonara held her silence and gave him